weekend we were talking to guys about how important this reset could be. I guess just after 2 days off, how did it feel? Like to one, catch your breath, and then today to get back into it?
Yeah, no, it's very different. I've never really had this much time off in the league outside of All-Star break, so I think sometimes it's good to get away from the game for a little bit, refresh, get with your families, just take care of your body, and we did just that. Big shout out to Kohler, the Kohler spas, all that out there. I went up there to Sheboygan. It was dope up there. Me and my lady had a great time up there. So, they showed love. It was a great spot. But yeah, no, now just getting back to work, man, I think it's good that we were able to get here, watch a little bit of film, just spoke on things, State of the Union type of thing, and just where we need to be.
I mean, with that, a lot of the guys have talked about, hey, with the injuries and the in and out and lineups changing, to actually be able to practice and, whatever those combinations may have been up there, but just to be able to do that, you guys haven't really been able to. It's been sort of like play on the fly.
Yeah.
I know tomorrow's another practice day. Can you see an immediate effect from something like that, like on Thursday or on Sunday?
Yeah, I think, one, it's always great to practice, in my opinion. I've been in this league long enough to know that, it's good to get days off and whatnot, but anytime you get out there between them lines, you figure a lot of that stuff out. A lot of stuff figures itself out, so it was good. I think a lot of this will directly translate and correlate, to what we got coming up, but for the most part, man, I think it's just good for camaraderie, just kind of all being in the same building.
Kind of what are the things Doc is circling right now is like, hey, I'm trying to build a thing over 82 games, but here in the immediate, these are kind of some of the things that we need to.
Execution is a big thing. I think that's something that's, as players in this league, when the coach draws something on the clipboard, you got to be able to go out there and execute it. It's important, especially I think, for a younger group to understand that. I think also we've been harping and preaching on our defense. I think it's something that's, you're not going to win very many games, if you're not, locking down the paint and doing things you need to do out there. So those two things I think have been some of the bigger emphasis.
I know when Giannis came back that first time, he talked about, at least from what he saw from the sideline, maybe a loss of some competitive spirit, I guess, in that sense. If you agree with that, what do you think is maybe missing in some of these stretches you guys have played?
I think winning is just great for morale. I think at times when you lose a couple games, it kind of feels like that, oh, here we go again, type of feeling, and that can drop off your competitive spirit at times. But I think you got to nip that in the bud. It's still December, it's quite early. So nip it in the bud, where it's at. And, he's right. He's right to call it out for what it is. I think, you see some of the score, discrepancies. You could, point out lack of, just competitiveness and competitive spirit. So, again, getting in between the lines, like practice today, tomorrow, stuff like that is good, to boost that.
You use the phrase State of the Union.
Mm-hmm.
In your opinion, what's the State of the Union right now?
I think that we are only, 5.5 games away from the third seed. So I don't think it's time to panic personally. I think it's time to be aware. I think being aware and being panicking are two very different things. Just aware that, we're not where we want to be, but we're also not far away. So I think that, with the group that we have right now, I think we are very capable, of making an extra push. But we could talk about it all we want to. It's a matter of going out there and getting it done.
For you guys, Ryan took on so much with all the injuries and kind of really helped you guys keep running offense and kind of get through that. Now he's going to take a little bit smaller role and trying to figure that out. How do you feel like you can kind of help him through that, whether that's screening or passing or different systems, whatever it might be? How do you feel like you
just encourage him not to lose his aggressiveness, because I think that's something at times you get a little passive, when you fall into a role. But he's done a great job of displaying, just how good he can be, as a primary option. So continue to keep that aggressiveness while also giving himself to the team. It's a steady balance. I think Scoot's been really good for him as well, kind of mentoring him there. Obviously, he has Rondo in his ear as well, so he's got the right group of people around him. And again, just it goes back to the competitive spirit, man. Just keep being who you are, and then what got you here.
You guys went through a stretch of 7 games in 11 days, now just 2 games in 11 days. You get so locked into games, shoot-arounds, travel, games. How much value is there just having 2 straight days of practices?
I think it's huge. Again, I will always harp on that. I think practice is very important. I think it's just important just to not only for camaraderie, not only for just bringing the group together, but it's just good just for stuff to work itself out on the floor. It's one thing to watch film, it's another thing just to be out there going through the technique of everything.
I think you guys are having fun.
Yeah, man. I think today was a great day. We got in, everybody These guys make it easy to show up for work. I will say that. It's an enjoyable environment. I think the staff works really hard, on creating that environment. And the medical staff is honestly, it's got me to a point where I can go out here and compete, feel good every single day. Wait staff. Honestly, the chefs, the food's been incredible since I've been here as well, man. So, it goes down to everybody. I think creating a good work environment is very important. I think it's something that we do have here.
You were one of the guys who have said, like, hey, we're still searching for who we are. Doc's like, well, when you don't have the head of the snake, sometimes it's hard to define that. Which I can understand that. Giannis may not be available maybe for up to 2 weeks. So how do you be aware, win games, but you don't have him? So how do you form some form of an identity of this group in that meantime, you know what I mean, to get those wins, and even if it's going to be sort of, his team?
Without much continuity, I think you have to be able to hang your hat on hard play and putting it back on our defense. I think those are the things that we kind of came up with. I think that when you don't have your main guys out there, there's always hungrier guys out there that are searching. You got the Andre Jacksons of the world to go out there and provide sparks off the bench, and that's Antetokounmpo, the Pete Nances, and the Amir Coffees, Gary Harris, the guys that come in and provide energy. That has to sprinkle into the first and second unit as well. You know what I mean? Just that hard play aspect of things, I think alleviates a lot of things. And then just, know what we're playing for. You know what I mean? It's just a bigger purpose than all of ourselves. You have to be able to give yourself up to the team, in order to be successful. So, allow those things just to happen.
I think coming into the season, we talked a lot to you about role and how you fit and all those things. This is kind of a convenient, breaking point that maybe get a chance to reflect. What have you maybe seen in your first quarter of the season?
Just me personally? Yeah, me personally, I think that with every transition, you have to take your licks and take your wounds. I'm not personally where I want to be. I think my impact is greater than what the numbers may show. But again, then I know that not a finished product here whatsoever. I'm still working to be a better version of myself. I think there's things I got to do better. Especially being the center, and I know I got to rebound better, take accountability there. I know I got to make better decisions with the ball, especially being on the perimeter a lot more. And then I know I got to be a defensive anchor. I do think that there are things that I do well, but I think that we got to kind of bring out the things that need improvement, and those are the things that jump out to me. But I think I've had fun with this group so far, man. Honestly, losing obviously sucks, but the group of guys that we have, being able to communicate, being able to bring a voice, all that stuff has just come second nature to me. And I think that I'm where I'm supposed to be.